Hey everybody, Fishman here. Welcome to another video. This is Fisher Vlog number 66, and there's an awful lot to cover today, so let's get right into it. I want to start off with a clip here of Ripley and the 7-foot tank, because apparently last week when I showed you a clip of this tank, she was not in any of it. And my apologies for that. As you can see, she's doing really quite well, and so are all the other fish in this tank, though you'll notice as we pan back, there are a lot fewer fish in here now because I've been gradually putting them out into clients' tanks, and I am pulling them out as in mostly the ones I don't want to breed. There's still a few left. I leave about 10, maybe 12 of the nicest ones in here, and the rest are all going to clients. There's an awful lot of work going to be done to this tank in the next week or two, and there's going to be a fair amount of footage of that, so I'll show you all that stuff then. Now, when I was doing a bit of work on the fish room today, I noticed that I was having a little bit of difficulty with some of the air. And as it turns out, when you buy a 1/4-inch extruded acrylic like this, every now and then you get a bad piece. It's just a little bit brittle, as you can see there. And I noticed that one of the tanks, actually I think it was two of them, weren't getting anywhere near the amount of air that they should. And I spotted that one of these had, the top had snapped off, and therefore I was getting leaking air, and it doesn't take much to change the pressure. This all happened while I was working on these tanks here. I wanted to switch these around because they're beginning to lean a little bit too much towards the light, so I want to swap them around. And on the left, those are the two pieces of pipe I had to replace. It only takes a couple minutes. But yeah, it was just weird that they snapped off like that, especially without any force being applied to them. These are the Burly Eye Fry, and they're doing really quite well. Believe it or not, Mom is pregnant again. So that's going to be interesting. I have to find a place to put her. Fortunately, like I said, I'm consolidating a lot of stuff right at the moment, so hopefully I'll have a tank for this. So I've cleaned a lot of this up. The land moss now is going to have a lot more access to light, and I did clean out the 2 high humidity planters, and I also noticed when I was working on this, the Fern here is sending out a lot of extra runners, so that's actually really kind of cool, because I do want to divide this up and get it into numerous pots instead of just the one. I really like this plant. It looks nice, and so far it's doing really well, so I definitely want to keep that going. So yeah, while I was cleaning this out, I decided I needed to prune these back a little bit. I know it doesn't look like they've been pruned back much, but I did take out a fair amount, and the last little while I've noticed the Java fern growing immersed in these planters seems to grow much longer and broader leaves, and they all look really healthy, so it's not really a health issue or anything. But I was noticing that, as you can see here, on the left is the immersed plant, and on the right is the submerged plant. And the big difference is, well, the immersed plant's leaves are longer, a bit broader, but the plant is not as dense as you see the one on the right, which is submerged. It is, I mean, with slightly smaller leaves and everything, but it is a much denser plant. It was just something I noticed, that's why I thought I'd share it with you guys. It's like both plants are really quite healthy, so it doesn't really matter. It's just kind of an interesting thing. This is pretty much all the consolidating all my Bosmany Rainbow Fry. I wanted to get the ones that are in the goldfish out because the goldfish are eating them, and they're in here now. And I'm also going to take the last tub of the smallest of the fry, these guys here. They're also going to go in there because I also was taking care of the 3, as it turns out, that were in the culture. They're going to go in here now, so you guys get to see them all together. So there's a bit of a span here in sizes, but you know, that is probably about a month difference in age as well, so it's definitely justified. And as you can see here, I know it's kind of hard to track them, but those 3 that were in the food culture are a little bit bigger. I'll put an arrow here to show you where they are as we go along, but they're, well, maybe a millimeter or 2 larger, not a lot bigger as I thought they would be. But they're doing really quite well. I mean, they're all fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this fish. It was just kind of interesting. I wanted to get them in here so that you guys can see how they look compared to all the others. And, I mean, all the fry are fine except the ones, unfortunately, got eaten by the goldfish. And that's the other thing I want to do is I want to consolidate all the goldfish as well, because I still had If you remember, I was testing out the egg separator, and I got a bunch of goldfish eggs, and they're getting to the point now where they need to come out of the tub. So they're going to go in with the rest of their siblings, and they're going to grow out there. So this is after it's settled down a little bit. Sorry for the last shot being a little bit cloudy because I was moving a lot of fry back and forth and stirring up the tanks. But as you can see, they're all healthy fish, and they're doing really quite well. So these are all the goldfish now, and way more goldfish than I need. And the thing about goldfish fry, it's more noticeable with these guys than with pretty much any other fish that I've raised. There's a drastic difference in size and siblings. You can see some of the monsters here. They're not actually that much older than the tiny ones. Maybe in total between the largest, between the oldest and the small, between the oldest and the youngest, you're looking at maybe 3 weeks in difference in age. But look at the size difference between, say, that little guy there and those big ones. That's just incredible. So I wanted to get the pond planted up, and so I'm going to do next year. I really like these canes. They're really quite colorful. And I'm finally going to break up and start potting up this lily. It's really healthy, but I want to get it into the immersed setup. And some of these are going to go into the large U-shaped palletarium I'm putting together. And I'm going to start, I've already started doing that, so I'm going to do a little bit more of that this week coming up. So this is a chunk of that, the peace lily, and I'm going to put that in here, and I'm going to put one of the canes here as well to grow it out. And probably some more stuff that's going to happen here, but for the moment this is going to be it, because you can see if you look underneath my hands here, there's an awful lot of aquatic plants in this still. I really do want to get a lot of that out of here temporarily, because I'm going to be putting in this week coming now, I'm going to put in the white clouds, and I want them to have limited access to where they can lay their eggs, because I want them to use the collector as much as possible, because I want to test it out again, and I think they'd be a perfect example of how that works. So I'm going to do that, and then after that's tested, I'm going to there's tons of room in here. I'm going to put all kinds of pots of different plants. As Fred suggested there, I'm going to put in some cryptocorenes, because this is a nice height for it. There's going to be Vallisneria, there's going to be red Luigia, hornwort. Pretty much everything is going to go in here. I want to get as much in here as possible. And also what I want to do, of course, is get the guppies in here. Not necessarily the older ones that are in the 7-foot tank, because I think that most of those will just go to clients. But I do want to start getting a nice colony in here, and so all I'm going to do is probably put in some females, and a few of the females I have, and some fry, and get that all going as well. I want to get a good colony of guppies that I can farm out to clients, and also have plenty left over for breeding and stuff. So that is something I need to get to, and this is a perfect spot for it. And I'm pretty sure that the white clouds and the guppies will get along perfectly fine. There might be some fry predation, but guppies have more than enough fry for there to be no real concern about a few going missing. Right now I have female bettas in their tanks, and I'm sure they're eating a lot more than the white clouds are going to eat. So this is beginning to come together. You notice at the end there's 2 little pots. The reason for that is I had a mystery plant that came from one of my, here it is here. This is just what's left of it. It was in really rough shape, but it started setting out this little shoot, and during all this process I unfortunately broke it off, which is really annoying. But I decided on the last one here, I stuck it right there in this pot here, so I want it to grow out, so it gets its own little special place. And I took the pothos from the top tank that I was just doing all the work on this week, and I threw that in there as well. So this is pretty much how this is going to stay as far as the immersed plants are concerned for the next little while. And I really like it. It's beginning to come together, which is excellent. There's more to come with this, of course. There's a lot of other things I want to try out, but for the moment, I like the look of this. It does hide the PVC pipe, which is kind of cool, but it was just, the way it is. I knew that was going to happen. So this is where the Bosmany Rainbows came out, the ones that were put in this culture tank. So I drained it down to catch them. I filled up pretty much half of it with water, tap water, and half it with the old tank water that was in here. And then I am now in the process of, as you can see, trying out hay. So that's going to have that in there. And also over here with these cultures, I've added some hay into this as well. And this is such a tiny fraction of what I've got. But I put a little jar of it there just to have easier access to it. So the last parts of this video are going to be about microworms. I've noticed that when I'm using the mashed potatoes, actual mashed potatoes, where I boil them with the skins on and then culture it from there, is a lot less smelly. And one of the things I noticed also with it is if I sprinkle on yeast like this, this is an hour later, the yeast disappears quite quickly, but I also noticed that there's a surge in the microworms climbing up the side. So I thought I'd demonstrate that. So this is hour 1, and it's going to go all the way up to hour 5, and I thought, oh, I'll just show you that. And then it's just one of those things where you plan to do something, and unfortunately it decides not to cooperate. It does climb up a little bit, but nowhere near what it was doing before. The unfortunate thing is these cultures are still too new. I just set them up, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ago. So they're not quite yet doing what the older cultures were doing, which I have now. I haven't cleaned them out yet, but I'm not using them anymore. I mean, it's a thriving culture. You can see there's tons of worms in there. This is the 2-hour mark, and you can see that there's worms climbing up there. But in the old cultures, it would be about an inch in height, and about, if you consider the whole circle, it would be about a 30-degree swath of the side. It would have worms crawling up it. But as you can see here, it's a little bit. But they did not cooperate. Well, these things happen. You know, what can you do? I will try it again at a later date to show you, but it's not really. It was just something I wanted to show you. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. And leave comments. Let me know what you think. I really like how the pond's coming along, and I finally got some time to work on some of the immersed plants as well. So the fish room is beginning to come together. So thank you again. Leave comments, and I'll see you in the next video, and bye for now.